So I guess Chicago was initially gonna go. Me, but then they were able to like fit it in the tunnel and go to the cemetery or thing. But yeah, that, it can make a break, you know, somebody's commute. Yeah. Good one.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hello, hello. Just make sure you sign in if you're visiting. There should
Good
be a
evening.
agenda there. And committee members really only need the committee meeting. So hopefully. Yeah. Star, could you mute?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm not used.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a pretty packed agenda today. I just want to say good evening to everyone. I'm the co-chair of the Uniform Services and Transportation Committee. I'm joined by Chris Johnson, who's a member of the committee. I'm also joined by Vanessa Kaufman, who's also part of the committee. We have several committee members out on travel. And I was explaining to the rest of the folks that new community board members were assigned recently to the community board. They have not been assigned to committees yet. Another committee member of ours, so we take everybody. Well, all right. I'm gonna call the meet. Let me see. Do we have one? We have 4 out of 7. Yes. Yes. So we have 12. All right, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:36 p.m. We have the agenda here. I know Felipe, you wanted to add some things to the agenda, to new business, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so, to make your motion.
Yeah, motion to add 3 items, 3 resolutions. One, I'll list them sequentially. Number 1 is a resolution for opposing the criminalization of bike infractions on the street. Number 2 is a proposal for bus improvements on Amsterdam Avenue in our district. And number 3, a set of protected bike lanes connecting our heritage parks up here in our district.
Anyone second that?
So we have a draft of the NYPD criminal summons, but we don't have a draft of 2 or 3. We've not seen anything yet.
Believe I sent them.
I think you did, you put them in the folder.
I put them in the folder.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
read the first one, I didn't read the other 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they did it,
They're there.
you did it
So-
yesterday, so to be fair, you didn't have enough.
No, I did it over the weekend. The Amsterdam one, is very similar to the one that we passed on 145th. It's the same concept. We wanna have bus lanes, we wanna have bus foldouts, we wanna, have all those nice, infrastructure installations that, we're gonna hear about on 116th. So if it's good for 116th, it's good for other corridors.
See, just
That's.
FYI, is the 145th resolution didn't pass an executive committee.
Yeah, it came back to,
Right.
so yeah, so we can also talk about that, but for the record, it passed in this subcommittee unanimously 8-0.
It got kicked back from exec.
We got kicked back from exec.
They want us to build some more consensus, talk to some of the stakeholders in the area, maybe other CPs as well, so. We're gonna, Felipe and I are gonna talk to the.
Yeah.
How we should represent this to the exec.
So just as a conversational piece, anything to do with that transportation improvement, that would be my sense about number 2 and number 3 before they're presented. Is to, the issue became community support, community input, and where appropriate, a petition signed by community members versus just coming out of this committee.
I mean, why not both?
Well, I'm saying even before maybe bringing it forward to gather that additional information.
And this is it's similar to what
Yeah,
was said. in the
going
exec.
through, yeah.
let's take it
Yeah, let's
offline,
table
let's
it.
take it offline, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do need a motion to second the addition of these three items to new business on the agenda.
My inclination is, we can discuss one, but without additional support, I'm not inclined to support a motion for 2 and 3, which is the bus lane and the bike lane.
Okay.
Anybody else feel differently? Juan, Vanessa?
So I have a question.
Mhm.
So the first one was about the criminalization of tickets for bicycles.
Of the cyclist, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I- I,
To criminalize,
I don't say criminalize and we think of the big word criminalization,
yeah,
but it's not as people would lead you to believe, just the delivery people. It's everybody that's riding a bike that's not doing what they're supposed to do, going through the stop signs and with no regard for pedestrians or people walking with their children. So I have an issue with that.
okay,
Can I make a recommendation? I think we can chat on
Yeah.
number 1, so I'm inclined to second that, so that we bring that into tonight.
Yeah.
And then 2 and 3 can be tabled, so. Well, want to talk about it this evening?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yes, Juan, I saw your hand.
Yeah, the people who are getting these summonses have to go get a lawyer to work this out,
Mhm.
right? So I was clear. Obviously, we can't have reckless riding anywhere. But then you go down to Riverside and you have these bikers in $10,000 bikes disrespecting anything around them, going through the green areas, going through the little highways, little roads that we have by the side of the river.
Mhm.
They don't care about ladies with strollers, all the walkers, you get in their way, they curse you out because they have that $10,000 bike. They soak in a police car on 158. Sometimes they put one on 145th. But there's no enforcement.
Right, so Juan, we're just talking about
Putting it on, adding it to the
putting it,
agenda.
adding it to the agenda.
So,
So-
yes,
So the-
we have to do that.
Okay,
Okay,
Do that.
so you're okay with number 1?
Absolutely.
Okay,
all right.
all right, so number 1, opposing the bike infraction, we're gonna add to the agenda.
one, do you want to support number 2?
Number 2 or 3?
Just to discuss it,
Let me see.
This is bus improvements on Amsterdam and then the connecting bike path to Heritage Parks.
I think we talked about this before, right?
These are new.
you know what I mean?
Well, Amsterdam is madhouse because everybody parks on the bike side. So there's no respect for biking in New York City. So we need to do that to keep riders safe. People will open the door without checking if there's somebody coming.
Okay, but do you think that we should talk about it at this meeting? Or should we table it for another one? Cause that's what we're trying to decide now.
Well, I think we need to talk about it. Whether people wanna talk about it in the next meeting or not, I think we still need to talk about it. So I will go for now or the next one.
Oh, if we have time, let's do it.
Okay, so we'll see how we're doing on time. We try to keep these meetings to 2 hours, so. We'll definitely add one, we'll talk about one, and then we'll see if we have time for 2. All right, so so now we need to adopt the minutes were provided from the last meeting. I don't know if everyone did you get it? They're also in the folder, the committee folder. So I need a motion to adopt the minutes from, oh, there's a type, no, the minutes from May 1st, I'm sorry.
I second, or I motion to.
You
adopt
motion
it.
to it, does
Yeah.
anyone second? One, Felipe?
Yeah,
Vanessa?
second, yeah.
Okay, all right, any nays to that? Okay, it passes. We've adopted the minutes. All right, next we have a presentation by NYC DOT as well as the MTA. So we have the presentation up. You're welcome to come join us.
Where would you like, Jamie and I to sit?
You guys can actually sit here. Okay. So we will put you next to each other. I'll move down. I actually have the screen up. So you tell me when you need me to move. Are you guys?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Luke Salvados. I am a project manager in the bus priority unit here at the Department of Transportation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jean Cho, and I'm a bus service planner at MTA New York City Transit. I'm also joined here by Mariah Richardson online, who's also a colleague who's working on this.
We're also joined by Lyle from the Manhattan Borough Office, and then Phil, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Phil Bethel, Deputy Director of Bus Priority.
Thanks so much. So today we're talking about the 116th Street Bus and Pedestrian Priority Project, and I'll just caveat that it's not a busway. It's not like the 14th Street style busway. It's more like the 23rd Street style busway, but the majority of it, with bus lanes is not really here. So we're talking about a small segment today of Manhattan Avenue. And you can see it here. It's a really critical choke point for traffic and a connector for the neighborhood between Morningside Heights and Harlem. So you feel free to advance.
Okay.
We will go over some introductory information. We showed you a toolkit the last slide, the last round of outreach, but today we're going to go over our proposal. And that will delve into the design, the curb regulations, and the proposed benefits that these designs will have, followed by a summary and a timeline. So in general, as I mentioned earlier, this is kind of the context of the project. So we're working here and we're talking today about CB9's segment, but we're also talking to CB10 and CB11. This study area follows the path of the M116 bus. We've gone over this at our last round of outreach, but just to recap, so this segment, it's a small but mighty segment on Manhattan Avenue. Our study area also includes Morningside Avenue between 113th and 114th Street. And this small segment has the M3, the M7, and the M116 bus routes. And across all of those bus routes, over 40,000 daily passengers are served. So we find that whenever we make improvements to one segment of those journeys, it has a ripple effect through the bus network. This Manhattan Avenue and 116th Street has critical connections to the subway service. And as I mentioned earlier, Manhattan Avenue kind of connects neighborhoods in a really unique way.
Thank you, Luke. So overall, bus speeds are slow all day throughout Manhattan Avenue within the study area. And these maps here focuses on the M16 stop-to-stop bus speeds in Manhattan Avenue, where we see speeds slow down from AM peak to PM peak. Most segments have speeds of less than 7 miles per hour and then less than 5 miles per hour in some other segments. Going on to the next slide. As you mentioned earlier, more than 40,000 daily weekday riders, are traveling by bus on Manhattan Avenue in the study area, using the M3, M7, and M116. And on Manhattan Avenue, between 116th Street and 110th Street, there are about 2,800 aggregated boardings and flights that are happening there at the bus stops. And if we look at the map for the on-bus ridership in the study area, we see that the high weekday ridership traveling through this section of Manhattan Avenue has at least 3,000 riders going southbound and 4,500 riders going northbound daily. And all of these people can benefit from bus priority on Manhattan Avenue. And they're going to work, to school, or to shop and elsewhere. Yeah, so hopefully with this bus priority project, it's going to.
He said, can we run a few things, wait until the noise subsides, that's really loud. That's what they,
Would you like me to repeat anything?
I can wait, but barely, oh, that would be.
Okay. So would you like me to go back to the bus ridership?
I heard what you said, but barely, so there's, okay, we'll take it with you.
In terms of safety, this area has a lot of crashes. So within the last 5 years, from 2020 to 2024, 37 people were injured in crashes in this study area. 4 people were severely injured and 1 person was killed. You can see a breakdown of the safety stats. And here's a common issue that we see on Manhattan Avenue is double parking where drivers are forced to go into oncoming traffic, which is obviously a dangerous condition. So when we spoke with you guys the last time, we presented our toolkit and we heard a lot of great feedback. And we use that feedback to inform our decisions. And here are some things that we've heard. One of our toolkit proposals or ideas was a slip lane conversion on Morningside between 113th and 114th Street. We heard a lot of positive feedback about that, a lot of interest in creating more pedestrian space in the area. There was also a lot of interest in pedestrian safety. And our proposal is going to add that. We heard specifically at 110th and Manhattan Avenue where that person was killed, that the board wanted more safety improvements. So we went back and we're going to be proposing concrete pedestrian islands, and we'll go into that a little bit. We're also adding in daylighting throughout Manhattan Avenue, predominantly on the east side in CB10. But also at another intersection, 116th and Morningside. Folks spoke to the congestion on farmers markets days. So we're exploring ways, through the curb management to alleviate double parking on weekends when the bus isn't in operation, or bus lanes. And one other thing we heard very strongly is that Morningside Access needs to have better access to bicycle infrastructure and pedestrians. So we're going to be exploring shortening the crossing distance on Morningside Avenue at 116th Street and hardening that pedestrian space with bike corrals. And then in terms of enforcement, making sure that these bus lanes and these improvements are actually able to work. We will be coordinating, of course, with the NYPD throughout implementation, and we also would be implementing stationary cameras, which enforce moving violations, and on-bus ACE cameras, which enforce double parking violations. So that, and then onto the proposal. So the first element is, and it's hard to see on this color palette, but we're talking about right here between 113th and 114th Street and Morningside Avenue. So here's a condition of what it looks like now. There's no parking on the west side and a no standing zone on the east side. It generally tapers from 42 feet to 22 feet. And this is a really good example of what it would look like in the proposed conditions. So it's a pedestrian space, a passive space, and it also can enable programming. So there's a lot of programming here in the park. There's a lot of sister agencies that we have that are interested in potential programming. So this is, and we'll kind of get into this a little bit more.
So would it become essentially a plaza?
Yes. Yeah, it would be a pedestrian plaza, and we would harden it with vertical elements like granite blocks, high visibility posts. It would still enable emergency vehicle access. So, we're very cognizant of the needs for FDNY, and so it would still enable their access. But for general travel, they would have to go south on Morningside, turn left on 114th Street and continue down Manhattan Avenue.
So would it have tables and chairs consistent with other plazas or no?
So right now we're kind of focusing on the paint and the actual, activation in the sense of creating it into a plaza. But we've been in talks with the Parks Department and they're very interested in the opportunities. And there are a lot of maintenance partners that could come together. So this is the type of space that, yes, it can have tables and chairs, but it's just a matter of sorting through those logistics. But do you want me to answer any questions or should I?
Keep going.
Okay. So this is the bus element of this. You know, if you've driven down or are taking the bus down Manhattan Avenue, you know it's a very constricted space. Part of that is because it's so narrow. And what we're doing is during the morning hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., we're proposing a curbside bus lane that can be used by emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks, to really ensure that emergency access and bus riders can get to their destinations. So we're really excited about this. We think it's gonna speed up bus service, but also, as I mentioned, speed up those emergency access vehicles. And then at the same time, on the east sidewalk, which is technically in CB10, we will be implementing pedestrian curb extensions. And again, those would be hardened with vertical elements as we can. And of course, after 7 p.m., we have heard a lot of interest in parking, and we don't want to mess with that. So it would revert to alternate side parking in the evenings, so you can park overnight. And then on the weekends, it would revert to farmers market parking on Saturdays and whatever the Sunday regulations are. So it's primarily for weekdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then the next slide. So here, as mentioned, we're proposing, and I don't know if you can see behind this, but 2 of these concrete pedestrian islands. One's technically a median tip extension, but it's got the same type of infrastructure, which is a Mortello bollard, which protects pedestrians from fast turning cars. It slows those turning movements down, gives a refuge space. And also, we're working with the Parks Department to add a tree pin. So it's a very, highly exposed, sunny area, and creating some shade is really good for everybody. So those are 2 pedestrian islands at this intersection on either side of the street. The next, I'll turn it over to
So on Manhattan Avenue in the study area, we're proposing the removal of one stop. It is the southbound stop at 112th Street, and this is due to the closeness of that stop. If looking at 114th Street and 110th Street. And so it is also underutilized. So keeping the 140 stop instead of 112 also prioritizes access to the accessible entrances of Morningside Park. And so that is behind our reasoning for this proposed stop removal. And this stop consolidation will also help with speeding up the bus as well as providing about 5 new overnight and weekend parking spots.
One other thing I'll just mention about that stop removal, we're also working with the Parks Department, wherever we remove a bus stop, we think about, opportunities for adding new trees that we wouldn't be able to do. So we don't have the information quite yet, but we're in talks and trying to sort out potential tree pits that can be added there. So on the next slide, we heard about, Morningside, we've heard complaints about people walking across it and not feeling safe. We've got a picture here that really demonstrates this kind of issue. People, in order to see traffic, they really have to step out into traffic, which is not safe. So what we're proposing is a hardened pedestrian curb extension, and it would be kind of between these 2 crosswalks, going, these crosswalks right here. And this would help to reduce the crossing distance in addition to other pedestrian treatments we're doing on the other side. by 39% and 34%. It also provides bike parking. I don't know about you, but I've visited Morningside Park before and I don't know where to lock up my bike. There's sometimes some challenges there. So this kind of kills two birds with one stone. And that's, so in terms of curb regulations on the next slide, this proposal would remove approximately 25 parking spaces where these red lines are, but just during the day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. It would revert to parking on the evenings and the weekends, and it would add 5 bus stops. Morningside Cafe just opened, so you know if you want to go there on a Sunday, this would be the perfect place to park. And this would also convert the slip lane between 114th and 113th Street, which currently has no parking and no standing regulations, into a pedestrian plaza. And then further on the next slide, this would eliminate about 3 parking spaces, but with adding bike corrals and hardening this, we would be able to get about 18 new bike parking spaces. As you saw earlier, it would also be hardened with our typical treatments from our street furniture unit of granite blocks and vertical delineators. So we just kind of wanted to talk about, when we're proposing a slip lane removal, a lot of times people wonder, like, what's that going to do to traffic? Well, we studied that, and we're still continuing to study it to make sure that everything's copacetic. But what we found is that the benefits for this pedestrian space and the slip lane conversion is going to give about 8,600 new square feet of programmable plaza space, hardened by granite blocks and vertical delineators. And it will also simplify the traffic signal cycle at 113th Street and Manhattan Avenue. So if you have traveled through that intersection, you know that it's a 3-phase signal with some of the green time going to Morningside, 23 seconds to 113th Street, 45 seconds to Manhattan Avenue. So but basically by removing that leg of the intersection, we actually allow for more time for circulation along Manhattan Avenue, which, as we established earlier, is that neighborhood connector. So we found that preliminarily, it's actually those drivers are going to save time by going Morningside, 114th Street, and Manhattan Avenue, because we're adjusting so much green time every cycle. So, we can go back over that if that's a little complicated, but in summary, this proposal adds 0.15 miles of bus lanes. It adds 9,800 square feet of painted pedestrian space, adds 1 plaza. It adds over 880 square feet of concrete pedestrian space, and it adds 2+ new tree pits at these concrete islands, and potentially more depending on those conversations with the Parks Department. So in terms of timeline, we have identified this in 2021 as a priority area for transit. We've been doing field observations and traffic analysis. We've met with CB10 and 11 and jointly with all the CBs. We presented to you in February and to all the other community boards. So we're here with our draft proposal to CB9. And then if all goes well, we hope to implement this summer. So that's the presentation.
Thanks, thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. At this time, I want to open the forum for questions. I see Juan has his hand up.
Hey, could you go back to 12 for a second? This lake area, are you painting it only or are you raising it up?
So we're
So that part, because I see at the top of the picture, it looks like you're putting something to stop for lights to reflect. So that they don't go through, but drivers go through anything at this point, so How are you gonna deal with that?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. We're hardening it. So one of the most immediate solutions we have for that type of problem is granite blocks and boulders. So those give very secure pedestrian protection. But we can also review that and take those comments into our conversations with our engineers to really make sure that it's safe. But we hope to do more than just those vertical delineators. We hope to harden it with granite blocks.
And how are you gonna deal with the 7-7? How is that, how are drivers going to respect that?
So it with those cameras that are on the bus, they would enforce automatically anybody parked in that curbside bus lane. And then we would also, so that would address the parking issue, and those cameras would have built-in timing, mechanisms. When they're reviewed, they would be reviewed, did this was this person parking at 6:59 or was it 7:05? And if it was 7:05, they would get the ticket.
Sorry, that's a simple ticket. You don't have to go to court for that.
Yes, that's a traffic ticket, not a criminal ticket.
They're actually technically parking tickets.
Is that lower than a traffic ticket?
Yes.
Interesting.
So there is a shortage of places to dock or chain up buses, because I was actually on the in that area on Saturday. So even if it's possible, maybe like a bike route around 116th. Because I actually ran into Marcus Emerson and he biked over and he was shopping with like his son. They had to walk around with their bike and he was going to the farmer's market. So that would be a great idea.
Great. Yeah, we love that you like that. We have that within our proposal, a bike corral at 116th Street. So we'll just make a note.
And then possibly towards the 116th entrance, because that's where I think it's right next to the lower park or right into that area. And I think a lot of folks come around to bike and then going down the block or city bikes. So,
Right.
yeah.
Do you mind pulling up the slide 16? So in this, we would be proposing this type of bike sled, and it would be right here at this 116th Street entrance. That seems to be exactly what you're talking about.
About, excuse me, so, you had said that there's going to be a bus stop that was going to be. Where exactly is that bus stop? Is it residential or churches, what's the makeup? A lot of seniors that depend on that bus stop that might have an issue with walking, the two routes?
Yes, so that bus stop is going southbound at 100 Street. Oh, sorry, that bus stop is a southbound bus stop at 100 Street up on the county. And so looking at the stop spacing, there's already a stop and then also a stop at 110. So in order to help speed up buses and then also consolidate the stops, we are proposing for that removal. And then we also are prioritizing the accessibility to accessible entrances at those two park entrances at 114th and 113th, which are sloped.
Okay, so I guess why I'm asking is that there was a point where they had removed a BX19 stop from 145th and Convent. But it was utilized, especially on Sunday, to have seniors that were going to church and that gave the seniors an extra block, either up the hill or down the hill. So that's my question for this stop that's being moved. Is it going to affect seniors or people with mobility issues that would be more able to access Metro from the stop that's there?
So to that point, there is senior housing in that area on Eighth Avenue, it's like 115th, I'll look into it. That's really good.
This is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's closer to 115. I think the area that we're talking about, it's like 113th, it's like where the park meets. Morningside Avenue, and so there's one plaza where there's no residential buildings. And then
But the senior housing is on.
It's on
8th
Frederick
Avenue. It's on
Douglass.
8th Avenue, yeah.
it's on Frederick Douglass,
Yeah,
and so there is a stop on 115
yeah.
and Manhattan there. And then another point to notice is that that stop on 145th, like that should have not been removed because you're talking about a slope.
No, I just use it as.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, so 100%, that stop should have never been like considered for removal because we're talking about a slope. This is flat, so it's.
Yeah, I think that my point is, be it slope or flat, if there's an area where there are seniors or people with mobility issues. Has that been looked into when you did your survey, and are they going to be adversely affected?
You know, thank you for providing feedback and that is noted. We will do a re-review of the area and then see if there is if there is senior housing or if there is an organization in the area where seniors are going to, and then we'll look into that. But this is not set into stone, and so we can always monitor and, you know, if there is feedback from the community about wanting it back, that could be considered as well.
Thank you.
We just asked that you would take a look at 8th Avenue, go over 1 Avenue.
Sure, we'll do.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
8th Avenue and what intersection?
So I think the senior housing is somewhere around 117th or 18th.
It's 118,
Do you know the name of it?
yeah. Give me a second. It is. Could it be called Wyatt Walker Senior Housing?
That's one of them. There's one. So yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Thank you.
It's the end of the M10 runs on Frederick Douglass.
Right.
And as Jamie mentioned, you know, we're specifically trying to prioritize accessibility for the park. There are staircases at 112th and 110th Street, which are inaccessible. And so we're trying to maintain, you know, there's a lot of stops here between, and they're very tightly packed, and it ends up slowing down bus service for everybody who's there. You can see in this diagram here on the left that these stops aren't used as much as the stops nearest 116th Street and near the subway. So it's a tough balancing act, but that accessibility and seniors' access to the park is top of mind whenever we have conversations and meet with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, sorry, one last point. I see that with the bus stop removals, there would be 10 parking spots added total. Is there a world where instead of 10, you add back 8 and daylight that intersection? Because it seems counterintuitive that we're working on making the intersections safer, and then we like rearrange the access to the curb, and then we still leave 2 spots where we could be daylighting.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So this bus stop is only about able to fit, you know, 4.5, 5 car spaces. So it's a little less than that 10 number.
No, but you're removing 2, so 5 times 2, right?
This is only proposing one.
Only
Only one.
one.
Yeah, the northbound is pretty close to the train, and we recognize that people use that
Okay,
for their transit
okay,
connection.
so it's just one room.
Yes,
Okay,
just one.
so I take it back. So instead of 5 spots, adding back 5 spots, why don't we add 3 spots?
So if you don't mind pulling up the slide at 13. So this is essentially the challenge with the constrained environment that we're working in. It's only 42 feet wide, and typically as we've been presenting to CB10 and 11, we try to maintain the parking, and at the intersections try to do those daylightings. But because this has so little space, we don't have space for daylighting. here, so. There's not really a mechanism for a curbside bus lane to convert into
Alright, gotcha.
physical, data.
I understand.
This curbside bus and parking lane is on the northbound side,
Southbound side.
southbound side. Okay.
And there's no bin collection, there are no bins, Empire bins on the south side, correct?
On the south side,
It's all parked
you mean on the west side, southbound side?
on the west side.
Yes, we haven't seen any, we have spoken with the chair and, he mentioned that, the curbside program hasn't expanded here. But because it's not residential, we don't anticipate for those bins to be placed on, but we can always talk with DSNY, and that's a really good flag, actually. But yeah, there's, maybe on this eastern side, which is residential,
Right.
there might be more of an opportunity for curbside bins. So one thing, if you guys wanted to give us a letter of support, I'm just saying it'd be nice, but no pressure. We're trying to really go to the community and we've listened to folks and we've really considered a lot of the needs. And we think we have a really great project that you guys will really enjoy.
So I think it's something we would.
Yeah,
consider.
motion to-
It sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion
Yeah.
to write a letter of support.
Second that.
Yeah.
Any objections? Vanessa, one?
Yeah, when would you have the answers to some of those questions? I'm for you to support, but not a letter of support that have to wait on. Like, everything. We open for it up, we didn't give the answer to the question that you asked.
Right.
Because there are a lot of questions asked.
So do you mind repeating those, and I'll respond to the timing question in a second. So senior housing in the area,
And some of the other questions that were raised about the area. I'm for saying yes, but it's like a lot of the questions were raised. And you said that you would look into and get back to us, so how does that work? You give you a letter of support? Before you get the answers to us, or?
so there's some things like, the curbside bin question, we can connect with DSNY. The other intersections, there's no guarantees. We have a pretty limited study area and it's hard to expand scope to go to 8th Avenue and 117th and 118th Street or on 145th Street in Convent.
No, 145th
yeah.
Common is in a part of this
Okay.
conversation. It was just, for instance, this happened here for 112th Street. Will there be people affected the same way, seniors that may rely on that bus stop because of mobility issues that they can't walk 2 blocks in either direction for a bus? That was.
Got it. So when is your full board meeting?
So it's 2 Thursdays from today, so typically for us to pass a letter of support. It would come out of committee, we would present it to our executive board, and then if it passes exec board, it then goes to the general board for a vote. And at that time, if it passes, get the letter of support. If it doesn't, sometimes it can get tabled, sometimes it can get, denied, right? But, so that's kind of the process.
So your exec committee is maybe a week,
It's next Thursday?
next Thursday.
Yeah.
Phil, do you think getting those answers back by next Thursday would be possible, you think?
Well, so I think on the question of DSNY, I can actually answer that one. So every year at the beginning of the year, we talk to DSNY about every one of our projects. I know they did specifically ask us what side of the street you're on, because CB and the Empire bins, and they did tell us it's not a problem on the park. Be put in residential trash bins on the park side, you have to cross the street. Like to put the trash there. So that one I can answer in the room. Here's actually a question for my colleagues at the MPA, that's the big question asking about the bus stop is something that they would look at.
Yeah,
I'll connect with my colleagues at Government and Community Relations and double check with them, and then also look into the area and see like if there's a lot of senior housing nearby, or if there's a lot of senior programming nearby.
I would anticipate, I'll speak for the MTA, but what we can do anyway, we can probably get that to you fairly quickly.
Okay, well, I think you have, Yutha's information. We can relay that to the committee. So if we get those answers, we'll try to get something generated by next Thursday.
I mean, just to look up census tract, for that area, there are, 309 people who are 65 years, old or older living in that area.
That's census data from.
That census data from 2020. In these four blocks. You want me to do that?
No,
It's 309, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks.
One other thing we'll mention is that this area in Manhattan Avenue is still well served by transit. You know, the way we see it, and I don't mean to speak for the MTA here, but we're operating consistently with our guidelines, and maintaining, 5 out of the 6 bus stops between 116th and 110th. So there's still very many opportunities. As Jamie mentioned, we are prioritizing those accessible entrances while also trying to speed up bus. Because one thing we hear on the street when we talk to bus riders is that the bus is just too slow. And so it's a tough give and take, but we hear you and we'll get those answers.
Any other questions from
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming back.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll get back to our agenda. And, so thank you to DOT and MTA. Next we have agency updates and reports. I'm gonna let, the 30th precinct go, next. So please, feel free to either join us up here or. I can stand right here. You can stand right there, wherever you're comfortable.
Good afternoon. Welcome, 30th precinct, executive officer there. Captain Rose, the CO, wasn't able to make it. This is Officer Stumer, the community affairs officer. The 30th precinct, nothing alarming to report. We're down in crime. We're actually part of the summer violence zone, which means you're gonna see more officers on the street from 137th Street to 145th Street on Broadway. So you'll see more officers on the afternoon and the later night walking the beat. You'll see officers walk there till 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes on the weekends. Any complaints, call 311, call if you have any issues with quality of life, make sure you guys call 911. And any concerns, anything you guys want to talk about, I'm here to take any action. Yes.
Before we take questions, just wanna piggyback off what the captain said. So for all that don't know, in the summertime, the city as a whole sees an increase in violence in certain areas of the city. Whether it be 311 calls, 911 calls, acts of violence, property crime, everything all together. The 30th precinct this year was designated as one of those smaller zones. There's about 40 zones across the whole entire city. So while it sounds crazy, for us, it's a good thing. We get a lot of extra resources to come in and flood the area. Therefore, like the captain said, we're bringing cops on foot, walking up and down that Broadway area, which I spoke to some of the older guys who work at the precinct, hasn't been seen in the area in close to 20 years. So we're really excited to have that back. We had it for a brief couple months, beginning of the year, near Montefiore Park, but now we're flooding this area with officers. I walked and spoke with every single business in that area, just telling them that we're having officers out there late at night,
And also to the understanding that, you know, we'll be out there and while we understand people want to enjoy themselves this summer, but if it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, someone's blasting a speaker, we're having zero tolerance for that. You know, everyone has a right to sleep, everyone has a right to, you know, be ready for their workday, and to have someone blasting a speaker at 3 a.m. is totally unacceptable, and there'll be zero tolerance for that. Any questions?
Hi, so your precinct covers, we live at 3505 Broadway, which is close to 143rd, between 143rd and 144th. So that's the 30th precinct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're here on a number of issues. But for you guys, so we're in June, and minute June hits, M80s and bombs are going off at all hours of the day and evening. And we call 311 and they ask, well, is it fireworks? And to me, that's a ridiculous question, because if you're calling because a bomb went off and it shakes your windows, I don't think that's an appropriate question. So nothing gets really done. Because I say, well, it could be, but it sounds like I'm in a war zone. And then there's no police action, nothing. So that's one thing, and it happened already this week and last week, that it just, the bombs just go off. And it could be in the middle of the day, or it could be at midnight. So, yeah, it makes me feel good that there'll be police patrolling the streets, so I'm hoping that maybe they're not going to throw them off while there's police patrolling the streets. I mean, the other night, someone probably called 911 to say that there was an explosion, because that's how loud this bomb was. Okay, secondly, we have 2 pot trucks on our street, one on 143rd, the southwest side, and one right in front of our building at 3505 Broadway. They don't move their cars, so there's no street cleaning. There's never tickets on their cars. I took photographs and I sent them to 311. Nothing's ever been done. I gave my name, all my information. I never heard back. And then there's guys selling pot with their little placard on all their different flavors on the corner of 144th, the northwest side of the street. My biggest fear is that there's just gonna become like a competitive war out there. Cause you know, everybody has guns anyway, right? So I understand marijuana is legal, but there are kids running around all over our streets. There's people hanging out constantly now. The one truck in front of our building, they're plugged into a lamppost. That's where they're getting their electricity. I have to pay for my electricity. How is it that they're able to do that? And when I tell you, I took a picture of the license plate, the car, and it's been there for, I don't know, months.
And the other one on 142, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it never moves.
Never
I parked on Broadway, my car would be towed or I'd have
Yes.
tickets after like a couple hours.
Yeah. And then in the basement of our building, we've complained to the landlord, to the super, there's a lounge. And they have all the different prices of their marijuana under our building. And do you know the fear that there's something, a fire or something happen? No one does anything. So I appreciate the fact that you guys are here and we will have control, but the summer's upon us. And I just, you know, I hope that something is done. You know.
Regards to the fireworks, we conduct weekly operations and trying to slow it down. Definitely the foot posts will help, because if an officer on foot sees somebody lighting fireworks, they're gonna act and they're gonna make apprehensions. Just to read off some stats, and I don't think stats are that important, but just since May 5th, since the beginning of the summer violence, officers on patrol on foot posts have had 14 arrests. They've written 11 criminal court summonses and 22 civil summonses. And that's all related to people with loudspeakers, people drinking in the streets,
Yeah.
people doing drugs open. So it's it's gonna directly affect the fireworks. We're hoping, it's illegal, the problem is that they bring it from other
No, that
states.
I understand, but once they're here and they're shooting them off, you know.
Yes, we see anybody lighting fireworks or in possession of fireworks, we're quick to act, issue summonses and arrest people for it. But sometimes we have to catch them in the act, and now we have these officers on foot. That'll help us out a lot. We, like I said, we conduct weekly operations. Not only that, the borough is conducting weekly checkpoints in the GW Bridge to try to confiscate them before they walk into the police, before they walk into New York City, like before they drive into New York City.
Right.
So that'll help a lot. Anything you got on that?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate to work in this precinct for about 6 years. And in those 6 years, the one day that is always the craziest for us is the 4th of July.
Right.
The 4th of July here is
Insane.
quite intense, to put it nicely. And one of the things that we're very fortunate to have our current borough commander. So for everyone who doesn't know, each precinct in Manhattan is supervised by a borough chief. So Manhattan North, which is 59th Street and above, we have a two-star chief that oversees us. And we're very fortunate that that two-star chief is a former precinct commander in this precinct 20 years ago, about. So he was out here with us on 4th of July, so he firsthand understands what resources we need in the very precinct. So we're hoping that this year we're gonna get an influx of cops, probably, in the dream world, over 100 cops to come to this area and flood it. And what part of my job is I make those requests for resources. So what I do is I look back at last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where do we see the majority of calls for fireworks, for any type of illegal act? And along Broadway, 144, 143, 142 is that. So we will definitely have officers in that area just to hopefully prevent it. Do you want to take on the weed truck or?
Yeah, the weed truck, we, similar to the operations we conduct on fireworks, we conduct operations to try to shut these things down. Just today, we shut down a weed truck. I don't remember the exact address. But I also spoke with the NCO sergeant that he's gonna conduct another operation, I believe, over there. I'm not 100% certain, but now sanitation is helping us out in confiscating these trucks. So it's gonna be able to expedite it. We're just trying to get in tune with every agency that could help us out. Cause it's not just an NYPD problem, like every agency should be able to help us out.
So, and also, sorry, big mouth balls. The weed trucks, the two that you're specifically going on, we are very aware of them. The one on right in front of your building, I believe. It actually has been towed 3 times in the last 6 months period. What happens is the sheriff's task force, who is the overseeing agency when it comes to weed enforcement, observed illegal sales at the location. They arrested the individual who wasn't using that truck and as well as issued confiscated the truck. The way the court system works is if you settle your debt with the court, whether it be jail time, monetary, whatever the scope of the court decision is, your property can be returned to you. And in this situation, he paid his debt to the court, but wherever it was, and was given his truck back. And obviously, as you said, has returned to again.
Sounds right back.
Our sheriff's officers are aware that he is back, and they are exploring other options like through sanitation. Sanitation is aware of it, so they know when street sweeping happens, which I think is 8 AM to 9:30, if I'm correct. They know that the weird rule when it comes to street cleaning is as long as they move and come back, there's nothing they can do. And alternate side as well, this not really apply, just in general. If someone moves their car like 2 feet when it comes to derelict vehicles, technically it's not on a derelict vehicle because they moved it. But we definitely are aware of it, and we do have very, very good officers who are waiting to hopefully get a long-term answer to the problem. Because unfortunately, taking his car, it goes to the pound, and he pays a fine and it back. Isn't solving the issue long-term.
Officer Stewart, I have a question about that. If they're arrested for selling marijuana out of their vehicle, aren't you able to seize the car?
So that's exactly what I'm referring to, is
Right.
we are able to see the vehicle because it is part of the crime, but. When it comes to the court proceeding, however it turns out, the district attorney does have that leniency to say, you know what, they paid their debt to society, to the community, and we do issue it back. At the end of the day, that is someone's vehicle, whether they're using it for good or bad, at the end of the day, it
Right,
is.
but wouldn't that fall under the crib slot law?
I'm not too familiar with
So-
what it is.
And I'm not a lawyer, don't blame one on TV, but if a car does it have, maybe it just has to be a felony, I'm not sure. If a car is seized when they're committing a crime, selling marijuana is a crime, I don't know what level, but it's a crime. The police have the option of saying, we're seizing this car, like, it was used as an instrument of illegal activity, is my understanding.
Use it for like controlled substances. Like that's the only time for marijuana, we don't use the acid forfeiture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the forfeiture, that's what you mean, but for marijuana, usually they just tap them on the wrist and.
So how do we make that a reality? You should forfeit your car if you're in front of this.
It would have to be a conversation with our legal bureau.
Or repeat.
Yeah.
And with, yeah,
So
like escalating.
the same,
Yeah.
the same location.
Yeah.
How do
Big law.
Yeah, and it has to be the law, we have to talk to our legislators.
Right, so these
Yeah.
are.
That would be the same, the
Yeah.
repeat
Yeah.
offense in the same
Yeah.
location.
Yeah, because for example, I work at the hospital at 168, and there is an Auntie Anne's pretzel truck that parks in the bus stop. And it's there like every other day, and it gets the fines every other day, but it's just the cost of doing business, so
Yeah.
$115 a fine,
Yeah.
you make it back. So I think, like whether it's marijuana or, pretzels, it's
It's
a
the
problem.
offensive, where we have.
Yeah.
A case.
Just Solomon,
Yeah.
quickly, topic of this committee has been for the last couple of months is the 34th, 20th roadway, not to shift things, but.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
very
sure.
big thing I've been talking about, May 12th, May 12th, May. 14th, one of those days, I forgot what day it was. Officers conducted an operation at the location and issued 4 summonses for unlicensed vending. Everything that we could find on that location. We understand that location has been a huge topic of this committee. And since that date, we have not received a 311 call from that location. And as well, in that area where we've been talking about, where we have always focus in, from 136th Street to 100 Street, we've actually seen a 30% decrease in 311 calls in them.
So, billions.
Stability.
Yes, yeah. And so the officers in that area know about it, the ones who in the foot, so they know too, especially anyone, whether it's someone trying to go to the other store and bring alcohol in there, they know right away. They're not playing that game.
The foot post directly in front of that.
Yeah.
And I know that, the district office had gotten, emails from some concerned residents. Similar to what you're, telling us today. About the open drug use, open alcohol.
Illegal alcohol sales.
Illegal alcohol sales, the noise, it was also an issue with, I guess, vagrancy and homelessness. I know it's more on the train station side, and I think that's something for the transit division to address. But, it seems like that area is kind of plagued, from like 145th to 140.
And part also, part of the reason why we have these officers in that area for the summer, because, they value the community's feedback, and we tell them downtown that this is an area where we need to, focus resources on.
Yeah, and is your building the building with the scaffolding?
The scaffolding that's been there
That's something else.
plus years.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so
It attracts a lot of people, and the music, like that car that was here before, we couldn't even hear you speak. Imagine that under your window, like every weekend.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with in the building. And a lot of it is because of the scaffold, it's created a protection from rain. It's been there like 7, 8 years. We sent letters to everybody, our landlords doing nothing about it. It's just in there.
We can definitely be the conduit of information to the buildings department to see what's going on with the scaffolding. We've had some success in other buildings of just calling them, and be like, hey, like, what's going on? I know,
And there's not one bit
I mean-
of work being done on our building.
I'm, don't quote me on this. I know there either it's legislation that was trying to be passed or it was passed about the work and it was 60 days.
Yeah,
not that days.
right.
And as long as it wasn't any type of structural security, it had to come down. I'll definitely reach out to the buildings department, see if I can update.
Thanks.
And as far as what's going on in your basement, we'll definitely have some officers swing by.
You
Yeah,
should,
because it's, I'm sorry, it's the trap door that's open, like, you
What's
know,
the
you
address
have the
again?
business.
35.
55
It's like the basement access trap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're looking at our building, it's on the right side and they
Right side.
decorated it, it's this bright pink.
Painted.
They have these nice mural on it, they have their sign with how much things cost and everything and.
But do they go inside of the building or it's just right outside?
They go downstairs.
I think that's where they keep their
What does
inventory.
What does management say?
They said that it's the dry cleaner, it's the dry cleaner's basement, so they have to do something about it. But it's not her building, she rents
She rents,
her dry
she
cleaner.
rents the dry.
She's the dry cleaner, she
Yeah.
pays the rent, but yes, they do that, and, you know, I worry, I mean, we've not had cooking gas in over 3 years, but I worry that there could be fire, there could be anything under our building. And we even called 311, and I think they put you in touch with the precinct.
Yeah,
I'm not
911, yeah.
sure, to say that, but it's like, we're not in front of there to say this is happening right now. We're calling from our homes to
Yeah,
say
like we
this.
see it open and then we go upstairs and then the scaffolding, you can't see down.
No, we can definitely set it up. So that's actually news to me, so I'll definitely.
And there are lighting issues as well under the scaffolding.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it traps, I mean, the drug thing. You know, if that's going on, I can sleep, but the music is insane. And I have probably about 150, calls on my phone to 311 on weekends in particular. I can't sleep through a night, and you guys are above me. And, if people are just selling drugs, I mean, I could sleep through that, but the music is like when that car showed up there, that's what I have to endure. And I've seen your officers walk right by the marijuana trucks when there are people hanging out right in front playing music. They've done nothing. I've seen it out my window. So it feels, it's a sense of hopelessness. I love seeing the guys on the street, but when I see them walk by like guys with speakers and the marijuana truck and all the people that attracts, that are creating one noise. It doesn't feel insurance.
We should actually send.
Yeah, you know what sorry, go ahead,
I know officers have been standing on one side of 144th Street this past week, and officers on that. The thing is, and I know there's tension and all of that's happening but it still doesn't solve the problem for the people who are living there, right? Because then they kind of go inside during a short period of time and then they're back out immediately. Like we did a procession, I'm from the Central Cívico Cultural Dominicano, we had an event last week and we did a processional from Central Cívico, which is on 145th between Broadway and Riverside. We walked to Hamilton Landmark Galleries on 144th and then to Children's Art Carnival on Hamilton Terrace. And it would have been better for our seniors and all of the people in the procession to go up 144th. But when we talked about it, they were like, absolutely not, right? We're not gonna walk across that block. We're not gonna go, especially if there was no presence of anyone. I mean, we wouldn't even do it on a normal day, right? And it was a joyous occasion. Everybody loved it. However, we know what blocks to
Yeah.
skip. Precisely for that reason.
We have friends that call it the bad block,
Yeah, it's
double parked cars, just buying drugs all day.
Yeah.
You can't,
all day long.
you don't even wanna walk between Broadway and Amsterdam where I'm slow.
Yeah, 144th, we've been here over 22 years, and it's always You know.
Always the bad one.
I was born on 146, so yeah, you preach it to the converted. But the truck that, the store that was shut down between 145th and 145th Broadway, they just went to the truck across the street as well, and they had tents and the same thing, so there has to be some type of speed done at some point or regularly.
We consistently go in that block and make a lot of arrests, do a lot of enforcement. It's like you said, 22 years it's been going on. We're just trying to slow it down at this point. And I can't guarantee anything, but you'll definitely see officers there. Just last week, that foot post locked up on 3 nights in a row, locked up people with having some type of weapon on. So we're chopping at it one thing at a time, but I know what you guys are speaking on there. And we all know at the precinct we're trying to hold us.
Yeah, a big issue that's a constant reoccurring theme that we're hearing about. And now that the Empire bins are now on across the district, a lot of double parking, triple parking, parking in front of hydrants. You know, we need to see more enforcement there. Especially, you know, I know that block very well.
Aside from selling marijuana, how could those trucks be there for months?
Yeah.
You know, if I was at a beauty meter and I didn't pay for an hour, I'd have a ticket.
Yeah.
How is it that, are they?
Usually we issue the ticket and we don't have access to a tow truck every day to have it towed. If we did, we would write that ticket and have it towed. But it's very difficult to have access to a tow truck every day. You know? But just know we're doing weekly operations over there and you'll see a difference eventually.
Yeah, and just one of the little piece, you know, is on the southeast corner is that bar, I think it's called.
Bless.
They're
Music's blasting. out
Yeah,
there.
and then, you know, they're late, they're open late, and it gets rowdy. There's always been, you know, that place has been
Yeah.
open and closed. It was posadas, it was
Yeah.
over the years, it's been, you know. But you know, you get a lot of people, you know, they're in the Fox Day, they're hanging out and people are getting into fights. I'm hearing and our bedroom's over in the back and you were asleep and I'm hearing a fight going on and then.
There's a big fight.
And then,
The whole gang
a
is
few
fighting.
shots fired. And, you know, the cops came, you guys came in about 3 or 4 minutes, you know, and by then, I guess they got scattered or whatever. But that's a tough spot.
There's a restaurant
I know it's a
next to that,
business,
too.
yeah, and it's a restaurant.
Okay,
So part of
Yeah.
part of the conversations of what I did with all the businesses was the expectations that we expected them, that, you know, that they need to be good neighbors in the community, and it's not, the business can do whatever they want.
Right.
You know, they need to hold themselves to a standard, whether it be, you know, keeping their patrons accountable, controlling them, because part of the SLA law is you have to be accountable for all your patrons that are in your location. So that was, that conversation we had, especially at that location too,
Okay.
like we see the same thing.
And recently we've held liquor license.
yeah, they have to come up for renewal.
Oh,
So that also will come back into the committee. And you guys are
Yeah.
welcome to come back and express your concerns.
right, great.
We do have to move on. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
One more question though, and it's on a positive note. So we have a Arts Craft and Home Fair on Saturday, this is the 21st, I know you're aware of it. I have a whole new team of folks running the organization, so we're not fully aware of how to get normally the police precinct provides the barricades. It's only half of the downtown, the traffic, we're closing down one lane, the parking lane of the east-west traffic.
Yes,
So how do we get the barricades, signs that's tell them?
Signs, if you wanna come to the precinct tomorrow, put that up, the barricades are gonna be tough. We have another event going on, Jack Robinson, I couldn't get barricades for it because the 116th Street Festival is taking place. And that's like a big deal, and then the Puerto Rican Day Parade, but we'll talk afterwards, I think I had an email.
Do you have this contact?
Yeah,
This is
and
offline.
we'll take it, so we'll leave the show.
Okay, thank you so much, because that's the bus lane.
Yes.
And so we just want to protect whatever venues or help tents that are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the increasing, Captain
Thank you.
Lopez and Officer Stewart.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I'm gonna move to Detective Wilburn, are you there?
Hi, I'm still here.
Hi, I'm sorry to keep you so long.
It's okay, don't worry. Please forgive me. I'm not gonna come on camera. I'm literally running around because our community council breakfast is tomorrow and I want it to be perfect. So I'm just trying to make sure it's situated. If anyone is ever interested in coming to our council meeting, it's always the second Thursday of the month and it starts at 7 p.m. and it'll be at PSA 6. So I
You said
have the numbers.
the second Thursday of the month?
Yes, it's always the second Thursday, and then we break July and August, and we reconvene in September.
Okay.
I have the 28-day period numbers for PSA 6 NYCHA.
Sure.
Okay, so we took one robbery in Grant houses where we had a male assaulted by 5 males. No weapons involved. The person fled toward LaSalle Street. The group fled toward LaSalle Street. There were minor injuries. They took his cell phone, and it seems to have started over a dispute with the person's girlfriend. We had 2 felony assaults, both domestic related in Grant and Manhattanville. And then we had 1 assault in Grant where a female hit a male in the face with a wooden bat, causing injuries. We had 2 burglaries in Manhattanville where tools are missing from a NYCHA location, from the shed. And then we had 1 burglary in Grant where a NYCHA worker was found to be in possession of stolen items that he had taken from a deceased person's apartment. So it's always wise, if you're ever in a situation, that you take photos of things, and that's how the family was able to recover the items because they had come to the apartment prior and took photos, and then when they came back the items were missing. So we had 1 grand larceny in Grant houses where a person's EBT card was taken and there were multiple charges on the same day. Those are the numbers for the 28-day period. Not too many serious crimes happening in the 2-6, so I'm happy to report that. Other than that, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Chris. Quick question. Are you also seeing an uptick in the motorcycles and quads running along the avenue?
Not as of lately. So there are periods where it spikes, but as of right now, we don't have anything reported or any calls for 311 in regards to those.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Any more questions for Detective? And again, congratulations on your new promotion.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you're not busy tomorrow, feel free to stop by our community council breakfast, fellowship breakfast. 40th annual breakfast is tomorrow in the Polo Grounds. It starts at 9 o'clock. We're gonna have some good eats, and you guys are always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for extending that invite. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Anyone from the 2-6 on 26 precinct? Okay, I guess I have Lyle, DOT. You there, Lyle?
I'm here, evening everyone, Lyle Duggar from DOT. Just one quick update, and that's in regards to milling and resurfacing. Our crews will most likely be back in northern Manhattan sometime in the next few weeks. I'd say by mid-July at the latest. So as mentioned before, when we're back in the area, I'll notify the community boards I cover so that everyone at least knows ahead of time, so that you all can plan accordingly. I guess as far as quick events that are happening during the summer, we have summer streets going on in August, and we have other events going on over Manhattan throughout the summer. So we can give you some information about that as those dates get closer. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Lyle, Chris, quick question for you. I know you've talked about this, the capital project at 155th Street. When is that expected to wrap up?
So as of now, the new end date should be, I think it's May of 2026. I know that there have been some issues as far as work going on in the area. So we're having some conversations, at least on our end, with our bridges division, to see what we can do to move that forward. But as of now, the new date should be spring of next year. But if that changes, we'll definitely let you know.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark, sorry.
Two things. We had a gentleman come to the meeting for the housing committee, and he explained to us that his neighbor died because an ambulance couldn't get through that area. This project has been going on forever. We appreciate renovations and things that need to be done for infrastructure, but who has oversight over this project? And is there any inspection on the people who are running this project? That's one. The second thing is less dangerous. The pothole on 144 and 45th going south on Convent Avenue keep getting larger, and now they have construction. So if I'm going with a bike, or even if you're just going with a scooter or something, you're gonna bump and it gets you really high. And cars go really fast there because, as we've spoken before, and I think Felipe, you were saying that that should be a one-way, because after 145th an hour, and it gets very dangerous, especially because cars at 8 o'clock, they want to make it to their schools or their business, whatever. But can you please send somebody to look at that pothole? It's two right next to each other. Thank you.
Can you give them the location? And it's Convent Avenue between 144th and 145th on the southbound side.
Yeah, it's a deteriorating.
Former bus.
It's concrete.
Yeah, it's concrete
It's concrete,
pad.
it's not the,
Yeah.
it's softwood. But the important issue is the fact that this man came to the meeting last time. And he spoke about losing a human being over that project.
So could you get someone to look at that Lyle for us?
Yeah, I can have an inspector go over to that location sometime in the next few days to determine the severity of the issue, and if it's something that we can address by filling those holes in fairly quickly, that's something we can do. It might be something that might be an underlying issue. In that instance, it might be something that's DEP related or something that's related to another agency. But yeah, I can have an inspector go to that location in the next few days to make that determination and report back to the community board once we get the update. No problem.
Right, the concern being that because it's a former bus stop that is on a bus line that no longer runs, is that why, like?
It's a concrete pad.
Right, but the concrete pad is because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, is
Gotcha.
that why nobody's looked at it, because,
No, it's DOT, they don't go look at it.
but if they think it's MTA, because
It's
there's.
DOT.
Well, yeah, bus pads are DOT's jurisdiction, so we can address whatever the situation is. If that's what the issue is, yeah, that would fall under our purview. So, thanks for letting me know, and I can definitely pass it on to my colleagues for their review and follow up, and I'll let you know what happens.
Okay.
Thank you, Lyle.
Thanks, Lyle. And Lyle, April had asked me to ask you about the need for a crosswalk from Hamilton Terrace to the Hamilton Grange. Do you remember that request that she made last month?
Yeah, let me see if I can get an update on that. And I'll get back to you. That would be under our geometric design. Well, that would be one or two divisions within DOT, but I'll see where we stand on that, and I'll get back to you on that. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, for all the issues, you just let Yutha know and she'll relay it to us.
Perfect, no problem. And if you need anything over the summer, just let me know or Victor or Yutha, and they know how to get two beats, never a problem. That's what we're here for. So let me know.
Okay, and I know that we were looking at some of the lighting issues that were reported around the district. Do you know, any updates on that? I haven't seen.
No updates on those. I know that those are being addressed. There are a couple of locations within the district that are on the radar of my colleagues in our street lighting division. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's on our radar. And I'll keep you guys updated as information comes on those locations too. But we are aware and we're trying to work on that now.
Somebody was up on Amsterdam because I spoke to somebody from DOT. He was looking at the street lamps. So there was somebody out about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. After our last meeting, that location was already on our radar. But we sent somebody back out there just to follow up. So, yeah, from my understanding, they're out there not too long ago to do some assessments and hopefully get some responses as far as what's going on out there. But like I said, these are definitely on our radar, and we'll keep you posted as news comes in.
Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
I don't believe I have anyone from sanitation on, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. Okay. All right, we did ask sanitation to attend, but they usually come to general board. Okay, we're gonna move to action items. I wanted to do, we can do, what do you think we should start with? I saw that April had put roadway, sidewalk, cafe applications, and then she separated dining out applications. They're actually the same thing. So they're really all under the same umbrella. And then we have some street renaming applications. Are you guys here for one of the street renaming?
Yes.
Okay. Was it Rosemore? That one. And you're here for Central Civico. So why don't we let them go?
Yeah.
So Rose Morgan, if you guys on the committee would have a chance to look at the documentation that they provided about the street naming application for Rose Morgan. You know, it seems like that you guys have all of the checklists, and I can, let me share real quick with everyone what is required, just so we can level set. Let's give it 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen just so everyone can see. Hopefully you guys can see this. So you can find these the general guidelines of street naming or street co-naming, I should say, on the CB9 website. You can see here it talks about what must happen in terms of the documentation needed, when, you know, the timeline that it should be submitted. You know, it talks about, you know, perspective honoree, like what they should have demonstrated in terms of commitment and dedication to the community. An honoree must be deceased, and they have to have a physical connection to the location of the co-named street. You can, so this is kind of talking about, you know, when it gets presented to the committee, how, you know, we have the committee discusses the application. If it passes the committee, it goes to exec board, and then from exec board, if it passes there, it goes to general board. And, you know, here's some examples of that they give here. But here's really the guideline summary of what is needed. It kind of talks about the process, and then this is the overall application. So part of the documentation that needs to be submitted is petition signatures, which I believe you guys have provided to us. And you know, just kind of filling out this form, and then providing any historical documentation, any letters of support, which I believe you've also have done, so thank you very much for all of that information. Do you, does one of you wanna talk about Miss Morgan and why you feel you know, she should be bestowed this honor?
Oh, absolutely, not a problem. Should I stay here?
No, you can sit.
Oh,
You can sit, you can stand, it's up to you.
okay, well, I'll sit.
Okay.
Um, my name is Luana Smith-Hubner, and I'm a local business owner. I own a boutique spa called The Spot on 149th and St. Nicholas Avenue. I've been in business for almost 10 years as of October. And I learned in my opening of my business that there was a beauty entrepreneur who lived in Harlem and had the largest African American owned beauty parlor in the world. Not just Harlem, but the world. And that fascinated me because I had never heard of her before. Basically, the place that the street would be a 148 in St. Nicholas Avenue, and the house is 401 148th Street. It's right on the corner. It's now a maroon colored mansion, and it has the Chinese restaurant in the basement of it. The reason that she's employed over 3,000 people throughout her career in this space that she was housing her business. She owned the entire house that she renovated that used to be called a haunted house. So it was something that she poured her savings into and turned something that was dilapidated into this beauty business. During that time, within 3 years, she became a multimillionaire. But she also advocated on a state level for beauty barbers and beauticians to have the livable and fair wage. But she also donated to the community her profits. At holiday times, there were always meals that were prepared for people who were not of a certain means. And she also donated their hairstyling services to the debutante balls that they were at. So each and every year, she would, her and her staff would help these young ladies get prepared for this coming of age event. She happened to be married to Joe Lewis for a period of time, but that is a side note in my mind because she was just so extraordinarily wonderful. The entire building was the spa, and there was a gym in the basement. She had a nurse on staff, as well as massage therapists and nutritionists and skincare products. She also was a skincare person, like she was a serial entrepreneur, and it was just nice to learn that there was someone at this time period who poured so much into the community, and that they poured back into her during its heyday, they saw about 1,000 people a week. And this is from 1946 to 1957. And then she basically had a few other locations throughout Harlem. That was the biggest one that she had was on 145th Street and next to the library. I forget what the eyes, I think it's 501, something like that. But yeah, between Broadway and Amsterdam, yes. And at that time, her first location, Adam Clayton Powell cut the ribbon on that location. And then the second one, it was the president, at that time, the mayor's wife. So it was a huge event that it shut down the street, even in the rain. So I just find her to be fascinating. I think that there was it's so much of our history is being erased and eradicated, and this is something that should be a flag stuck in because people don't know it, and there are people who are walking around and don't realize how much history they're just walking past. And the fact that I didn't learn about it, I've been to beauty school, did a whole lot of things, and she was never mentioned. And I just feel that that's a travesty, and we need to recognize someone who was a beacon for women entrepreneurs, and she always wanted to be known for, I only wanted to teach with my 2 hands. She did that.
Thank you very much for sharing all of that information with us. As you can see, there's a couple of pages of just signatures and names, people backing this this, petition. So, I don't know how long it took me to get all of this, all of these signatures, but I'm sure, it took a while.
I'm pretty sure I hadn't even started college.
Oh, wow.
And I just graduated, so.
It's about
But
140.
signatures in a very short period of time, I just kind of focused my energies and said, what do I need to do?
Right.
So that's why I'm here.
So, one of the, I guess, criteria is, so what happens is, from a process standpoint, it comes before a committee. If the committee feels like it should move forward, it goes to exec board. Exec board will consider it. If the exec board feels it should pass the general board will then take it into consideration and vote on it. Once it gets voted, it then goes to the city council member. City council member in our district currently is Councilman Abreu. Have you spoken to him or his office?
I
about
did
this?
not, I just went into the office to find out what I should do and who I should go to. And a lot of people were like, oh, yes, you should ask them. But I was like, if I can get the signatures on my own, they have so many other things that they need to be working on. And so this is where I am. So if I need to, I can go to the office. And speak.
I would go to them, let them know, hey, we, all the information that you provided us, give them a copy of it.
Okay.
Let them know that, you came before the committee to talk about the street co-naming for Rose Morgan. And, just ask them, for their support.
Okay.
If, when it gets to the council member, if he is still the council member by the time it gets there, the next session that they only hear co-street naming applications twice a year. The next one, I believe, is in November. So the council member would have, if it's Mr. Abreu or if it's someone else, would then need to sponsor it, and then it goes before city council.
Okay.
And once past city council, and if they approve it, then there will be a ceremony where they actually present the co-naming. So I just wanted to make sure that you know the process and you know the process too, so.
Would it be of use to receive a letter of support from Al Taylor?
No, I would love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that might be
sure.
someone else to follow up, because
Okay.
he's in that area.
And it's Yusuf, not Sean.
That's you said,
Yeah.
okay, so.
Oh, right, it's
Yeah.
because it's the same link,
Yeah,
right?
it's Yusuf.
Sorry.
I actually lived in that building and I looked up the story. And
Really?
yeah, and I remember reading about it, and it's like really, really important to have her name on the street.
Absolutely.
But
What
I-
apartment did you live in?
Like 3D in the back.
Oh,
For
okay.
2 years, yeah.
Yes, okay, was it configured? I got inside the building, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
got
we can do
inside the
that,
building.
yeah.
Talk up
No, it's really interesting.
But it's super, the story is super interesting,
It's,
yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah, and so I fully support it.
And she lived to be 98 years old,
Wow.
so, and she was an advocate for wellness in December 12th, 2008.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I just have a comment about that building is, if you look in the middle, there's a curve.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the entrance was.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes, they
The
concrete
building is
over.
beautiful. If you look all the way to the top,
Mhm.
the corners there, the last building at the top is completely different from the rest of the building. Last thing, on this side of the Chinese restaurant is the most beautiful rose bush. that you will
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
And it's sprouts like this, like a gorgeous, it looks like, Christmas lights, when it's blooming.
Yes, they're in bloom right now, yes.
He was something else.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We should do.
Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah, it looks like I have Heather,
148 in St. Nicholas Avenue.
Heather
right in the
Jason,
corner.
do you have a comment or question? Heather's.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very familiar with the building and the history. My question is, how many signatures did you get from the neighbors on West 148th Street between St. Nicholas and Convent, as well as between, say, St. Nicholas Avenue, between 145th and 50th or so? I see a lot of signatures, but I just couldn't, as it was being scrolled through, I did not see a number of signatures from the actual street
The
and area.
actual street, on the petition, they're all dotted with a red dot. Every business owner from 140, from 40, um. 7th Street.
You know, I see addresses in, it appears to be the Bronx and the 120s, even maybe in, Bronx. Brooklyn. I'm just curious as to how many that you have on actually on West 148th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue around the surrounding area.
The number of people who signed the petition for.
And even in Brooklyn, I see Brooklyn addresses too as well.
Wide support.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm a business owner and everyone who came to see me and they are told in the story, they're like, oh, that's fascinating. So that could be the reason for the differences.
No, I'm very much aware of the story and very impressed by the history of the story and very familiar. I'm just saying for community support, and I'm just comparing the rules according to the letter that was placed up. The number of actual members on the street where you need to garner support.
I have them. I mean, I was outside 4 or 5 days in a row and collected signatures from people who lived on 148th Street. And they were, at least they were dotted with a red dot on the application.
Oh no, I'm not challenging that at all. Like I said, I'm very familiar and I'm just saying, just asking, and I don't want to belabor. I just if you can just let us know how many signatures you have from the street as well as the surrounding area on St. Nicholas Avenue. That's all I'm asking, if you could provide us with that information. I'm not challenging anything. I just need to know the numbers.
On them, when they scanned it.
It doesn't show up?
It didn't show up. yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it looks like you have over 200 signatures on the petition. I do see a lot, on Convent. I saw 148th, 149th.
I mean, I'm a neighbor. I live a block away and I'm also on the community board and I didn't, receive a notice of the petition.
Right now, so. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, if you could give us that would help when we present to, if we present to exec board.
Okay.
So I'm gonna motion that we vote on this, that we proceed with the process of the street co-naming application for Rose Morgan.
With the understanding that there's some additional information that needs to be pulled together and you're gonna provide that. Yeah.
So the number of names of people on 148th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue.
Well, so
There's specific rules.
There's specific rules, and I can.
Yes, and
I can bring that up, just so that, we're all.
So enough information to support the rule.
Absolutely, and that's done.
Yes. You may just have to color it out, but it's probably there.
Yes.
It's right here, when it talks about require a minimum of 60 signatures. But, we're not gonna go counting right now, so our committee members, all in favor of having this application proceed, say aye. Aye. Do I have any committee members online? No, I don't see two. Okay. All right, it passes. It's a little, so you can give us that information. Congratulations. Thank you very much. All right, next we have Centro Cívico Cultural Dominicano.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Lisandra Ramos. I am the new executive director of the Centro Cívico Cultural Dominicano. This is an interesting situation because one of the rules is that the person is to have passed away for 2 years. So the executive director of the Centro Cívico Cultural Dominicano was my mother. She passed away last June. And she was a teacher at Louis D. Brandeis High School. My brother was born across the street from the Centro at 610 West 145th Street. I was born at 690, corner of 146, so they moved the block. And once she retired from high school, she took on the role of executive director for the Central. The Central was started in 1962. It's the oldest Dominican arts and culture organization in New York City and nationally also. We're considered a legacy organization. We're the oldest nonprofit in West Harlem. And this street naming has come up through the elected officials. So Shauna Abreu, and many others, Idanis Rodriguez, who runs who used to be Manny de los Santos, Carmen de la Rosa. These are all elected officials. Amanda Septimo, Judel Catapia, really would like to move on to the street naming. As community organizations, her students were like, we want to sign. People in the neighborhood, in the community, also want to champion. When we looked at the rules, we have upcoming public events. Tomorrow and Saturday being our biggest fair and festival. And everyone from the neighborhood knows her from a lot of the gardening that she would do in the summertime with our summer youth employees. And so in order to get that strip of signatures, we're gonna be submitting on Saturday. The reason why I'm here today is that you guys only meet publicly once a month. And so when it came to my attention, I missed last month's. And so I'm here because even though I don't have I have VIP Mujeres, which is a domestic violence organization that we would work with, and we've done a lot of arts and culture programming with the women who have suffered from sexual violence and trauma. We have a letter of support from Columbia Irving Cancer Medical Center because we've been doing programming with them for several years now. With Children Arts Carnival, who is our now sister organization and collaborator. So you have those letters already. We have a few others coming in the signatures, which we'll have from the strip that you need of Broadway and Riverside in the upcoming week. But I didn't want the zeal of our public officials to not have the support of the community. So I wanted to make sure to come and speak to you all about it. And also, one of the key things about this is that my mother is part of that old guard of the first wave of Dominicans here in the Heights that really, if you've ever been to Canal Street and you see the Juan Pablo Duarte statue down there, if you see Alianza Dominicana, she was part of the founder, the Dominican Parade. Like my mother was key figure, High Bridge Lions Club. She was District 20 R2 official, governor for the Lions Club. And so she was someone who constantly gave to the community, internationally and nationally. And high school teacher at Brandeis, she was an assistant principal at George Washington High School and at the middle school on Dykeman. I forget what the name of the school now, but someone who everybody knows. And so she is someone who also collaborated with so many people, that many of those people who are still living, and a lot of their efforts they did together. So having her be honored is as if they are being honored, because people will acknowledge all the things that she participated in. They'll be like, I did that too. And they're also of age and they may not have anyone to have with them. And so this timing of it being a little early, too soon, up to 2 years. In this case, I hope we came to ask for your support, because we will comply and give you your full application.
Yeah.
Heather, I hope you're listening. We are gonna give you your signatures, but I just didn't want to miss the opportunity from presenting to you all.
Yeah, and I know this is the, the mother was the legend in this area about it. I know that there is, like you said, the elected officials sitting for this. I spoke to Councilman Gray myself about this application, so he's well aware of it. So, I know, typically we're supposed to have all the documentation right before we we vote on it. I know you have your event on Saturday.
Yes.
Where you're gonna gather all that, all
The
those
ones from the
signatures.
block in particular, because you know that's important.
Right, so, I just wanna open it up to the committee members, how do you feel about just the, you know, the criteria of the O Street naming application and all the, and everything that's been submitted to date, right? You know, I don't know if you've had a chance to look it over, but hopefully you guys have. There's numerous letters of support, elected official support. You know, do we, I feel we should move to pass this on the contingency that, you know, Lysandra is able to provide those signatures. And if you could indicate the signatures that are from the block.
I'm glad I heard the.
So I would be okay with that. I just want to see how you guys feel. Yes,
I do not have any reservations. I would love to support it.
Vanessa?
So, yeah, I would say it's sort of provisional, or contingent upon bringing everything together.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what would happen at executive. It would be sort of an incomplete package. But otherwise, it sounds terrific. You just need to wrap it up and we'll get.
So if we, so the executive meets next Thursday. So if you could get us those signatures early in the week, so we can kind of put everything together for them and so that they can review it. You know, that would be the contingency here.
Great, I just need one clarification,
Mhm.
because this came up in we had all of them, our members sign, but they're all from West Harlem and the Bronx and Washington Heights. The units from 610, and is it the corner, so it's like, I'm 690, so there's the corner building, which I think, I can't remember right now, and then all the brownstones and McDonald's and rent. So what would be the 60% of that? Do we do, like, how many signatures would that be? Is it by units?
Yeah, we would have to look at the unit density and then see, I mean, you could look that up on the census stuff, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
want me to look it up on the.
Yeah, that's what I was asking for, because that way I have.
We can give you an idea of how many.
Because I had after last week, like close to 60, and that's what I was gonna come in for, but now that I heard how strict it is, I wanna make sure that this weekend I get who I need to get.
Yeah.
Cause it would be. It's even more meaningful to have support of the.
Sure.
The support of the elected thing.
And look, having signatures from other areas of the city and the community is great.
And you have an
it just
event this
strengthens
weekend, right?
yeah.
So you should,
Yeah.
you'll come away easily with 200-ish.
Yeah, there's 787 people that live on the block north of 145th and south. It's a little bit more, it's 1119. So, I mean.
But it's not people, it's on units, no?
Is it based on units?
It's the units.
It's based on units, yeah.
Okay, well then this.
Otherwise, you're gonna give me a hard.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Go.
That number.
Yeah.
I'm back with 800 signatures.
Yeah, I know, I mean,
Good luck.
I don't have
says-
the data.
That would require, you know, a block with 100 units would require a minimum of
Yeah.
60 signatures of support,
Yeah,
so.
that's what I was, that's why I had gotten the 60, but.
Mhm.
So I had
mean,
that, but.
Probably it's like 341 units on one block and then. 500 on the other, I mean, probably like 100 and 100 on each side of the state, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 200 and change.
Yeah, you'll get those, you'll get.
It says 60% of the total residents and business, and then it also says that would require a minimum of 60 signatures if there were only 100 units.
So you can have 2 people. You can have 2, two people in the unit.
Yeah.
Just grab signatures.
So it's important that you are, knocking on
Where do you
doors
live? 'Cause I want your
and meeting
signature.
owners.
She's close to that, actually.
Yeah, we already have all the brownstone learners on the north side of the street. If you're familiar with the block, so.
if you could get some of the businesses around there to also just write letters, I think that also.
We park our car in that lot, and we,
Anyone can sign.
Anyone can sign.
It's just, you know,
By Saturday is.
Your car can sign.
they're,
Don't worry, the twins will.
Yeah,
yeah, the criteria, you know, is different areas of city council are gonna be looking at this, right? So some members are really stringent on what the criteria is. So then they have to. Yep. Okay, so I motion to pass this forward with the contingency that Lysandra and the Centro Civico provides us with the signatures of petitions for the board on the street.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone,
Thank you.
thank you.
And come to the fair, it's from 10 to 2.
Thank you.
There's two, but 116th Street and the one at 145th between Broadway and the. Oh, as if you're going to, you get the traffic.
oh, yeah, your friends.
Oh, there they are. That's another.
Yeah, right on the corner. So I'm gonna go get parking. So parking flyers now. Is there anything?
No.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, you know how to get in touch with Yutha in the district office, and I think you have my email too.
Yes. And go.
All right. Okay, we are going to move forward. Oh wait, is anyone here for Worsby Butch Roten?
Yes. James Roten is, yes.
Okay, so that's Star. Okay.
Well, I don't know why that comes up, but James Roten, I am the son of Butch Osby Butch Roten.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Let me just bring up the information. It was your father, right?
Yes, and excuse me if I'm not as all right. I'd never been to a community board even through Zoom. I didn't know what to expect. I was told that the community just wanted to meet me, so I'm just going to answer the questions that's asked as best I can.
Sure. So this is the package that Mr. Roten has submitted to the board.
Yes, that would be me. That would be me. Yes.
Yeah. So this is all the signatures that they have. It goes on pages and pages. But if you could tell us a bit about your father, I'm bringing up the letter of support from Valori Thornton, who is the TA president of General Grant Houses. But I wanted you to kind of give some information about you know, your father and why you believe he's deserving of this honor.
Okay. Well, again, I did not even know I was going to be asked this question or what questions I was going to be asked. And him being my father, I didn't know but so much of his accomplishment. More of the people that was working with him did, but I'll speak on it best that I can. He's a great father, and one of the most important things, he was a father to a lot of fatherless kids in the community. He's been on the, I'm not sure if it's called the Neighborhood Watch or the Grant Association, the same one that Valori is the president of. My father's been the vice president for, I don't know, God knows when. And and since his passing, the vice president for the Grant Housing Association, has that title has been retired. No one else will be the vice president after my father has passed. I know my father has been on TV at least 2 times for helping and bringing awareness to issues that has gone on in Grant. No water, no hot water, or no having to use a hot pot because of no fire, no gas, or no elevator use. my family, with my father, one of the first residents of Grant Housing. He has a lot of accomplishments. Again, I did not know what questions I was going to be asked, and I only knew but so much of the accomplishments my father made because more of the people that was working and achieving these things with him would probably know more or would have been better to answer the question or give a response. Um, if there's any questions that you want to ask me, I can answer it as best I can.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions for James?
So he's deceased, right?
He is this. Yes, your father's deceased. Your
Yes.
father was on the tenant association at General Grant Houses. My understanding is he was the vice president. He did a lot of community work. Did a
Yes,
lot
that's
of
what
work
I did.
to help the residents of General Grant houses. I heard he helped out with holiday parties for the community. And he has a letter of support from the tenant association. Did you by any chance speak to Councilman Abreu about this application?
No, the president of the General Grant Association Board. I'm not exactly sure of the title, but the president Valori,
Yeah,
she spoke to the person that you're asking about.
Okay. So she spoke to Councilman Abreu.
Yes. And my father, to my knowledge, had dealings with that person as well. Again, like I stated, the people that has accomplished and was on the the board with him and accomplished some of these things with him, they would have been more better equipped to been here and answer these questions. But I did not know what to expect being my first time at a community board meeting.
Sure.
And
Not a problem. And the area, the street that they're looking to co-name in honor of your father is the walking path on 123rd Street, right on LaSalle. Is that correct?
it was the walkway.
Walking path that goes through General Grant Houses.
Yes, but it was either the one on across the street from the Citibank, the walk path between Citibank, which is between I think 1305 and sometimes I get it confused. Is that 1295 or 1315? The one that's I think that's 12. I think that's 1315. But that walkway in that area, if that wasn't available, I was asking for the other walkway, right across the street, between 123rd and 125th, right across the street, from like the LaSalle Street, also across from the supermarket.
And what building did your father live in?
1305 Amsterdam Avenue.
He was on 1305. Okay. And how long did he live in the General Grant Houses complex?
My family is one of the Roten family is one of the first residents to move in Grant Housing. I think so. I think what has been was probably since the 60s. I think I'm not exactly sure. It was way before I was born. I just know they're one of the first residents to be there, to live there, to move in.
What so I'm giving you my personal feedback on the application.
Yes.
It's great that you have the letter of support from the TA president. I do think a couple more letters of support would be helpful. I do think you should also speak to, I know you said you believe Valori spoke to Councilman Abreu.
Yeah.
When I spoke to the councilman about the Centro Cívico application, this wasn't something that he brought up. So again, maybe it's something that it just didn't come up in the conversation. but I definitely think that it would help just the application if you were to speak to him or someone in his office about it. Because ultimately, even if it gets through the community board 9, he would have to sponsor it to city council.
And maybe if you need to go back in time, reach out to Inez.
Right, that would help too.
Arnez?
Inez Dinkins.
Oh, okay. Inez.
She was a long time
City council and
she was also an assembly member.
State assembly, yeah. And she would have known your father.
Okay. And who was the other person that you said that I would need, that I most likely would need to speak to?
Councilman Sean Abreu.
Okay. Sean, what is his last name, please?
Abreu is Abreu. Councilman Sean Abreu. He's the councilman for District 7 in Manhattan.
Okay. Is there any other questions that I need to answer?
Or maybe a night shift, somebody from night shift.
That would help. Yeah, if you get someone from NYCHA to write a letter of support, that would be, this would just strengthen the application.
Okay. So, Mr. or Mrs. Inez, who I'm not familiar with, Sean Abrea, excuse me if I'm pronouncing Abri, and NYCHA, a letter from NYCHA as well.
Yeah, that would help.
Okay. Is there any other suggestions?
Anyone else have anything else for Mr. Roman?
Oh,
okay. So what I would suggest, well, I'm talking to the committee, what I would recommend in this case is, as it is right now, I don't know if it's strong enough to pass through CB9. I do think that Mr. Roten needs to kind of add some more letters of support, get some more consensus from the council member's office. So I think we should table this, and maybe Mr. Roten, you could come back. I think we meet in August again.
September, so you have a little bit of time.
Yeah, you have a little bit of time to get this information for
Okay.
us, and then you still will meet that, you're looking to try to get this in, for the November city council meeting, right? So if you come back to us with all the information that strengthens the application, then we can further it in our process. And like I said, if you can get someone, if it's Valori or someone from NYCHA to talk to the council members so that he can kind of sponsor it and kind of give his his approval that this is something that he is going to kind of back, that would be huge.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. You said okay. So somebody from NYCHA, Miss Valori, or who else would be good to speak on my behalf?
You can also, if you could get Inez Dinkins, who was the she was the former council member in at the time when your father was on the tenant association, or if you could get someone from NYCHA to from the actual complex that could write a letter of support saying this is something your father deserves in terms of an honor. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay. What about the signatures and the letters that I already have?
What would be helpful with the signatures is if you could indicate which ones are from tenants in the general grant houses complex.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any other suggestions that would help support my cause?
I think we pretty much stated them. So at this time, I'm gonna motion to table for Mr. Rowland to come back. So when he has this additional documentation and material to submit with his application, we can take it under
I
consideration.
agree. I think the application has the framework and it looks great. And I would agree. So I second.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, all
Thank you,
right,
Mr.
so
Roden.
thank you, Mr. Roden.
Okay, one last thing, so when should we come back? You said a meeting again in September?
September, yeah, so we, we break for the summer. We meet the first Thursday of every month, so we will reconvene the first Thursday in September at 6:30.
But he can get this information prior to then.
Yeah, so I know that you've been dealing, I think, with Hakil, Mr. Roden.
Yes.
So once you get this information, you can send it to Hakil. He'll add it to our where we keep the files, the digital files, and then that'll be part of the application that we submit to to the exec board and then to general board.
Okay, I would like to say to the community board, I'm sorry I was unprepared for the meeting. I did not know what to expect. Now that I do, next time I am presented at the community board for my father's for the code street naming, I will be better prepared and have everything that's needed.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
You too. All right, thank you. Is there anything else needed of me? Again, I don't know how to properly end my meeting on the community board. Is there anything else that needs to be done? Anything else that I need to hear? Just want to know. Just checking.
No, you're great.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'll mute my phone.
Okay, so let's see, so we took care of all the street moving applications. Real quick, the dining out applications, I wanted to kind of show you all. I put two things in the UST dining out applications folder. One is, this is what they refer to as the CB role in the open restaurants program. So it's pretty much saying this is the community board plays an advisory role in considering these applications. So we review the application, we hold public hearings or meetings, that's what this is. We provide recommendations, so it says here non-binding advisory recommendation. And it says our input is considered, but we do not have veto. And we're supposed to balance, boards are expected to weigh the benefits of expanded dining for local businesses against potential drawbacks like noise, congestion, access concerns for pedestrians and people with disabilities. So if you guys remember last month, we looked at this kind of questionnaire, which was like 12 pages long, and it was way too long, and we thought a lot of that information was redundant to keep asking the applicant. Hakil actually has two samples of applications that are kind of what I would call supplemental surveys for an establishment. They're about 1 page apiece. He was supposed to make copies and have them here. I'm sorry, it's not here. I should have told him before. I think he's next door. But what I would do, what I would say is that I think we should table these applications so that we can consider either inviting the establishments to come talk about their dining out applications, and also seeing if they can give us some feedback based on potentially a new survey that we can give them. But I need you guys to kind of look at the survey to see if it makes sense.
Wouldn't disagree with tabling. The only issue at hand is one of practicality. we're not back until September. So
But
essentially.
we don't have veto power, so if they wanna do it.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Yeah,
So you could just, just table it and.
All right, so I motion to table all the dining applications, so anything that says roadway sidewalk cafe applications, that's the same thing. So, so that would be Harlem Public, Fumo, Bam Bam Chop, At the Wallet, Saps, Upper West Side, and Dinosaur Barbecue.
Are you gonna email us the forms?
I will email you the form, yeah, they're actually next door. I might even have one in my bag, but it's next door. I thought it
No,
was
it's
Gabriel.
cool, we can look at it on our own, right?
Yeah.
And talk about it online.
Okay, all right, so we'll table this, all right, next is the renewal liquor license applications. There were only two, for consideration. One of them, I could not find the scan application. April sent it out. She has the ones for Manhattanville Market in there, but I don't see the ones for Cordial. But those are the only two liquor license applications that we're looking at this month. So Manhattanville Market is just down here. No issues.
Oh, it's the one that's in the
It's in the
campus.
yes. It's in the
Keep
campus.
taking Singapore 135th Street.
And then Cordial is on Broadway between 140th and 141st Street.
Yeah, I went to Manhattanville once and they don't have a tip jar for their employees. And I was told that they're not allowed to have one. Just raising that point.
Interesting.
It's just kind of like
Is it not allowed?
Can they tip,
By
can you
management.
tip by?
can't tip.
Oh,
Is the tip, is the tip included in the
It doesn't say that,
prices?
it does not say that.
that's interesting.
But yeah, a lot
Because
of
Dear Mama is in the Columbia Building and they have
you guys
tip jar.
can tip, you know.
Interesting.
I mean, it's not here nor there maybe, but it's just like,
I don't know, I don't think it's a Columbia policy because Dear Mama allows tipping.
right.
And the coffee place in the business school allows tipping as well. Okay.
I don't trust anything Columbia does, so I wouldn't say that it's not Columbia.
All right, well, in terms of liquor license applications, any objections to either of these? That we got okay from the 30th precinct and the 2-6 on these,
I know.
I didn't find any.
Yeah. Just in the future, I really think that NYPD needs to communicate to the committee in person.
Okay.
We need to discontinue that process.
We'll have them
Right.
state it at the general board.
Right.
If they have no
Well,
issues.
No, they have to state it to the committee, otherwise we wouldn't pass it.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
I should have asked them here,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Because I think Gretchen also was able to access data that we need to start taking a look at.
The public data, yeah, so I
One calls.
did look for that.
Yeah, I downloaded some through.
Yeah. And that needs to come in, and then I think Edwin raised a really interesting point regarding certificate of occupancy, so you want to take a look at that also.
That's a good point.
So I think over the summer, maybe during hiatus, we'll kind of take a look at the letter that needs to be posted and get that package together.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we
I
can-
have some stuff here that you guys can look at as well. Here's, this is guidance on regarding liquor licenses in general.
I think that's one I received, right, from you, from SLA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this is the role of a community board in terms of notification to the public. You know, how we're supposed to send email notifications, newsletters, post it on websites, social media. Letting people know that, you know, these meetings are open to the public so that they can, in person or virtually, posting it in local venues, that kind of thing, so.
I think we should, that's something.
We gotta flesh this out.
And start, try to kick that off in September.
Okay,
It's like the
So-
idea of this project.
I motion to approve these two applications. Any issues? Okay,
Have we lost any members from?
yes. We lost Michael, Michael graduated and Eliza, she left, she didn't reapply. And
Carolyn.
oh yes, Carolyn deceased unfortunately.
What happened to Ted?
Ted was supposed to be on. I saw he asked for the Zoom meeting link and I know Hikeel sent it to him, but I don't know what happened.
April's okay.
April's okay, she's in Seattle. Gretchen was flying home, hopefully
Yeah.
she's fine too. But other than that, we're supposed to get new committee members.
I mean, can I like throw out a bit of a radical idea, like uniform services and transportation committee, it's like a lot,
It is a lot.
it's been 2 hours and a half almost. Not every community board does it like this, maybe there's a world where it could be uniform services, one committee. Transportation another committee, so the people that, you know, come to talk about street renaming don't have to be here forever.
Yeah.
You know.
So definitely to be thought of, you have to come into executive.
No,
Yeah,
of course,
but
of course,
definitely-
like, let's remember that the community board in and of itself is like advisory, right? Like we, you know, like we have.
But even to split it. has
Yeah,
to-
yeah, I'm sure, I'm just saying, like, the spirit of the community board is not one that like, you know, we have to do things a certain way, we can look, if we do things differently, if it's, you know, if we're volunteering, you know, 2.5 hours of our time.
Yes, yeah, we just need to present that, so I think that's a great discussion item.
Right. Okay, let's try to go through new business real quick. I'm gonna leave the resolution for. Let me just get through some of the other one.
Yeah.
Number two, take care, thank you for coming. The M60 southbound stop bus removal, that was not removed. What happened was the sign was vandalized and they need to replace it. So MTA confirmed that. Unfortunately, the buses, because they don't see the sign, aren't stopping there. So they're going to replace the sign. We got written confirmation from Alberto Rodan about that. There was a bike request for PS 125. And you know, I think we should ask DOT to you know, to help out with that.
PS1 is the school, right?
PS 125 is, I believe, on Amsterdam and 122nd.
The elementary school.
Yes.
I know where it is, Columbia, and they wanted.
123rd.
They want it between, well, sorry, 123rd, it's 123rd between.
Between Amsterdam and Morningside Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's a DOT.
Are we good with that?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that passes in favor.
Can we have a hand raise?
Oh, yes, Ms. Thomas, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I am the, first of all, good evening, everyone. My name is Stacy Thomas and I'm the actual person who reached out to Community Board 9 in reference to the M60 bus. So I want to tell you, thank y'all for expediting that for me and for the employees and the visitors within that area. But when I called and put in a complaint on that, they said that they did take away that stop. So I'm glad to see that the stop is back. But I will tell you, when you after the bus hits 120th Street in Amsterdam, it tells you the next stop when they show you display, and when they it's on the loudspeaker, it says 116th Street, but the bus driver does stop there.
Okay.
So there is a little disconnect on what's really happening. But since y'all have reached out in reference to it, they have put it back. So I want to tell you, thank y'all so much. I don't know how much the people that utilize that bus stop is so appreciative of that.
Well, thank you for coming on, and you know, we're glad to help out, and I'm very sorry for the inconvenience. That's something that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. And if there's any other bus improvements, we'd be happy to help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right, number three, the quality of life concerns Broadway between 143rd and 144th, we spoke about that.
This is the billiards.
That's, that, well,
No,
that was when the three people here at 3505
Okay.
Broadway. That's what that was.
Okay.
It was number five. Oh, that's just a reminder that there was an open street notification for Amsterdam Avenue. From Cathedral Parkway, which is 110th Street to 106th Street. That starts July 5th to November 8th.
Is that a request or is that happening?
It's a request, but I think it happens every year.
Yeah, so the only question at hand is, are there community complaints and we're unaware of it?
That could be,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
Are there complaints to the open streets?
that particular one, because it shuts down
Shut
from
down.
110.
like you can't go north
Yeah,
yet.
Okay,
yeah,
but are they?
we don't know.
We don't know.
Right, but
We don't know.
if there were complaints, we would know, right? People would be here or they'd be right
Yeah,
here.
that's a good question.
Like, we can't just say, oh, is somebody against this, if they don't.
We don't know, so we have to figure, we need to think about how we can become better informed, or maybe use the kiosk to promote the meeting and.
I mean, I don't think there are people against it.
I don't
think
know.
open streets most people are for open streets.
Yeah, that one seems popular, but
Yeah,
yeah,
See it, I'm just looking at the email. Okay, so the email says we have 45 days to offer any comments to DOT for this open street location. That's all it says.
yeah, it's a rerouting of the bus, of two bus lines. So I don't know if anyone expresses concerns about that, and it's been going on for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, this is the one, right? Yeah, this is the one in front of the Hungarian bakery.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's easy to say folks love it because if people were concerned, they may not express their concerns. But I see your point, but
We could always ask.
we should always
It's
ask.
You can, the
It's
district
on a-
office of
It's
people.
on a Saturday,
Yeah.
and if you go anywhere in Midtown, there's reroutes everywhere. And the subway reroutes everywhere. So people manage it in New York.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, it's 9:01.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so, I'll ask the district office. So, okay. Do you wanna talk about NYPD criminal?
I'm just, yeah, I'm gonna say, in the sake of time, I'm just gonna talk about this one, just real quick. Let me share my screen. Okay, so basically. So what is the concern, right? Concern is that there are big criminal summonses being written for cyclists when they violate traffic law, right? Like violating a red light, stoplight, whatnot. Why do we care, right? Like, we gotta follow the law, right? Like, this is escalated to a criminal level. A criminal level is much higher than a traffic court level, and we've spoken tonight already about like what results in a traffic ticket, what results in a parking ticket, and what results in a criminal complaint. So when we look at like who's causing the damage in our community board, we go to the data. When we look at bikes and e-bikes, how many crashes in the past year that have been reported, and maybe these are underreported, right? We see 9 crashes. On the flip side, when we look at all other road users, we see 320 crashes with 1 fatality. This was the gentleman that lost his life on St. Nicholas Avenue and 155th Street, who was riding a bicycle, and a police pursuit led to the minivan driving over the gentleman and ending his life, right? So this is a bit of 320 versus 9. These are the font sizes, okay? Difference in scope. So my argument here is criminal summonses for cyclists, while drivers are getting traffic tickets, not tied to their driver's license, it's not an equal application of the law. It's pretty, actually, it's pretty tilted. Criminal summons require appearing in criminal court, requires expensive representation, and a lot of folks riding bikes are not wealthy. This is they have to go to court, they have to physically be present in court, otherwise the warrant is issued for their arrest. These are people, we are people who have to work. I myself, I cycle, I have 4 jobs, and I bike to work. And so a criminal summons for something that a car gets a $50 ticket for me, it's losing a day of work, and that's my livelihood, right? So, I think it's an unequal application of the law. That's why I care about this. And yes, we have to follow the law. That's why, if I run a red light on my bicycle, I would get a $190 ticket, right? I don't want to get a $190 ticket and lose a day of work by going to court. So.
Yeah, so.
When somebody who drives to work can just get a $50 ticket in the mail.
The difference is they have a license and they have registration, so they have things in play. So this also extends from the fact that the community is screaming about the reckless bike riding. This is not about crashes. I think all of us have heard from community members. This is a #1 issue. It's #1 issue for the Adams administration.
Yeah, the outgoing.
Yeah, it's going to be also for the incoming. The number of residents that are unhappy with bikes flying, both e-bikes and regular bikes, the numbers are scary. People are fearful of walking on the sidewalk. So that's what this extends from. And I believe starting tomorrow, there's a new law to reduce bike speeds.
15.
To 15. This is,
So again, that's not a law. That's if it's coming from the mayor doesn't have the authority to write laws.
So whatever the enforcement is, so by the same token.
But it's not a law.
Yeah, so whatever. So even if we take a look at what is to be implemented by NYPD, this has come through city council or the state. So I think if there's a discussion to be had, and I think it's a good discussion, I would prefer to see this come into general board with having somebody from the DA's office talk about how did we get here. This is not subtle. Community Board 7 is screaming for this.
Right.
So this is not about crashes. This is about residents feeling terrorized, women, children. Nothing about crash. The crash data is almost irrelevant to this. If you take the temperature of how residents feel across the city in view of the bikes and the bike riders, right now it is palpable in their sense, a sense of danger. They feel they're at risk.
Right, and the crash data says that is not exactly accurate.
That's not the, right, so that.
No, I understand, I understand. I, like, I'm a psychiatrist, I appreciate the difference between feelings and facts. I get it.
Right. So,
Feelings are valid.
so your resolution is asking for
Like
really.
different mechanisms.
Yeah, so I think this has to go into the general board, but this is another case that I think requires a great deal of community input. And my sense is, the community wants more enforcement. Unfortunately, the mechanism that's being proposed
is criminal.
It's aggressive, but
Yeah.
that logic needs to also be explained. I understand why they. Yeah.
A part of the issue is that I'm saying bicyclists, they were being given summonses, they weren't showing
Yeah.
up. So that creates another issue. It's not just Community Board 9, 7.
It's across the city.
It's all over the city, First Avenue, 23rd Street, Chambers Street, wherever there are bicyclists. And nobody is saying, oh my God, somebody lost their life. The person that lost their life on the bicycle at 155th Street, that was a direct result of a criminal pursuit.
A pursuit.
So that nobody's saying, oh yeah, he was riding the wrong way or the car's were at fault. There was a criminal pursuit, it could have been somebody walking across the street. So that's off the table. When it comes to the bikes and the driver on the bikes, not stopping, going to the green light, I'm not getting, okay, if something because of the like, not a driver, right? You're not gonna seize my bike. I'm not gonna show up. I'm not gonna pay this fine. I can change my red bike from a Huffy to a Schwinn or to a whatever. With a car, it's not that easy, so what I see them saying is, if you don't curb it, then we're not gonna find a way to make a solution. So let me get your attention. Now that I have your attention, obey the laws. Some people will, some people won't. Same thing with cars. But I.
Yeah, I'm saying the risk is much higher when the car doesn't obey the law.
Oh, yeah, I think we all know that.
Nobody, that's not a dispute.
Let Juan comment.
Yeah, I'm
He's
sorry.
aware.
So I've been waiting a little bit. First of all, I bike everywhere. And there have been times when the police have stopped me for nothing. So that is a problem. And I think this resolution is trying to mitigate that because they're not just stopping e-bikers. They're stopping anybody they want. So that's something that the NYPD has a problem with. I understand. I run on Riverside and this guy on his e-bike hit me because I was going up the hill and he was going up the hill. He lost control of his e-bike. And then there's ladies all the time walking with their strollers, and these guys are in the way or going in the sidewalk. But that's not the problem here. The problem here is what the NYPD is doing. Right? If they really want to do something, they find a way. I got stopped one time because I jumped the turnstile. I got a ticket. I had to pay it. And every time that I didn't pay it, it increased. So there are ways to give you a ticket so that you show up. Now, that biker who got a ticket, he's gonna have to do something with the city again, and he's gonna pay for that.
Right.
So there's no empty ticket that you don't pay for it, you don't show up, it doesn't matter, especially if you're an immigrant. Now, these guys are getting lawyered up because this is a criminal offense. The kid next door to me, he was without a helmet. He is an e-biker, he works for Uber, so now he has to get a lawyer and pay. He told me luckily he could get somebody for free. Right? But how often does that happen? So I think you have to balance this out.
Yeah, but I think the issue is that you need some deterrent, right? And the deterrent is like this heavy penalty, right? Because people are worried about the reckless.
Right, this resolution says the deterrent that the Adams administration chose arbitrarily is too heavy-handed. If they could just scale it back, that's all the resolution says.
I mean, do we wanna cut to the chase? But, so, I oppose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thought on it.
But you oppose it as well? Okay, I'm for it, one. I'm for it. You're for it.
I'm really torn, but
I would agree.
I'm really on the fence about it because I see I've heard, the number one complaint, like at town halls, is about the reckless bike riders. And I know that's not every bike rider, and unfortunately, the lawful bike riders, they get lumped into this.
This resolution as it is, I call it a better way type resolution. This is not something I would want to bring to executive, and if it is, it would require a slew of community support. But I would be inclined, as a committee, to propose to executive, let's get somebody in from the DA's office.
Yeah.
To talk about.
Like, do we know, have they prosecuted anyone?
I mean,
for this?
There's a woman that's cited in the New York Times article. And that's it, there was a lot of
the
detail.
concern is that this emboldens the police to act more heavy-handed because now they're dealing with quote criminals.
Yeah, but that's because they want to stop quality of life crime.
I hear you.
And this is so. The police act as the street enforcer, but ultimately it's the DA that must prosecute.
Right.
So. I would be inclined to say, let's get somebody.
I do feel that if we did send it to exec, I don't think it would come. Oh, that's my feeling.
If you're an immigrant kid and a cop gives you a criminal ticket, man, you are in trouble.
You are
and now ICE is coming to all criminal courts, stopping people. High school kids are getting arrested. You know, it's disgusting.
So are we motioning to ask the DA?
Yeah,
To come
to ask,
to come to general
yeah.
board and discuss
to
it?
discuss, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, great.
Oh,
all right.
I'm jumping up like motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Do I get a second? Yeah, second. Okay. We are adjourning at 9:14 PM. Thank you, everyone, for attending the meeting tonight. We have adjourned the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
I think.
Bye,
Home
Heather.
safe.
Goodbye, Mark.
I think this is a testament to how long